As a music director, you are charged with an oversight of musical standards. When a musician, especially one that frequently plays exposed solos, is suddenly struggling to maintain that standard, then there are various processes, usually governed by a master agreement between the musicians and the organization, to address this, usually starting with a meeting to discuss the situation. I have found that in the times that I have had this responsibility, there is no formula for this, because it isn't only that most circumstances are unique, but every person is unique. And then there are their colleagues to consider. I want to share a real situation that occurred when I met with a principal woodwind player whose performance showed a sudden decline that was obvious to all. They were a longtime member of the orchestra that had deep community ties, as well as many friends amongst the musicians. It was also clear that they were very frustrated with their performance. There was no denial from them. It would be one thing to simply deal with a specific issue at hand. However, this was someone who had been dedicated to the organizations that had reaped the benefits of their normally exemplary performance, and the outreach they frequently volunteered to do, as well as the rapport they had engendered amongst their colleagues. To not meet this issue with empathy would be negligent, and could have put in danger my rapport with the orchestra. The empathy triad was vital to enact. Firstly, in our meeting, the musician apologized and assured me that the situation was temporary. My response was to appreciate the disclosure, but then to assure them that whatever was discussed, I would treat as confidential. Something that is key in situations such as this, akin to counseling that you will learn about in an upcoming module. I wanted them to know that this was going to be a dialogue, to collaborate, the reduction in power resistance, and to simply say that we both knew why we were there, but that my main concern is if they were okay, and that I wanted to learn more from their perspective. This is cognitive empathy. With an assurance of confidentiality and a mutual dialogue established, and a simple question about well-being, came the disclosure that there was a very bad situation at home. A close relative who was not well moved in to be cared for, and it had caused so much upheaval, and as a result, much physical and mental strain. Sleep was sporadic at best, nerves were frayed, and the musician had to devote more time to their close relative than they could to practice. In fact, there were many days practice was not possible. The other members of the household also struggled. They were, however, determined to keep playing in the orchestra so that they could hold on to something near and dear during this time. After listening, I simply shared that I could not even begin to imagine what they were going through, and I thanked them and expressed that I genuinely felt moved with their dedication to try and maintain their commitment to the orchestra. This is emotional empathy. We both knew something had to be worked out. So I asked if they had any ideas, what we could do to help. An example of servant leadership, but also empathic concern with the signal that I wanted to listen to their needs. With this orchestra's master agreement, they could only miss 2 main stage concerts a season unless there was an emergency or major illness. And they had already done that, and expressed concern that their position might be in jeopardy if any more time was taken off, because the only other option was to take the whole season off. And they didn't want to do that, just maybe a few more concerts. What I heard was that in this struggle, they wanted to maintain the hope of returning when the situation was resolved. Now, realizing how important this was for them to maintain that hope, I came up with an idea, which was for us to go together to the orchestra committee and ask for an exception due to family-related concerns without having to disclose them. They agreed unanimously. Empathic concern is to actually work with someone on what is needed, not just why they are having a problem. Not once did we talk about the performance-related issues, because that wasn't the issue. Intentionally using the empathy triad revealed the true issue, which superseded the performance issues. Simply put, their master status, their family, was first. If this had been dealt with from a musical standard standpoint, it might have lessened their self-esteem about their ability to perform and made my leadership dissonant as a result, which would have been noticed by everyone. Now, we checked in from time to time to see how they and their family were doing and if they needed anything, making sure a connection was still felt. And I am happy to say that the situation did resolve successfully for everyone, and 3 concerts later they made a triumphant return. Dealing transactionally with the musical problem alone would have caused dissonance for all concerned. Intentionally implementing the empathy triad prevents that from happening and can even help you grow more affiliative with the musicians because it demonstrates that you care about them. This was just one example. It doesn't always go this way. But as you will learn in a later module about counseling techniques, it is vital to meet people where they are and to always actively listen to them.